Self-love is the key to all manifestation. The more you love yourself, the faster and more powerfully your manifestations appear. Why? Because you feel worthy of them. And in fact, it is good to desire and to manifest desire. You are infinite power, intelligence, and beauty. You are the universe itself. So everything you do to create your reality is just you trying to know yourself in a different way. So let's, using the I am as the power of manifestation, let's say this: self-love is the key to all manifestation. Consider that for a minute. Self-love is the key to all manifestation. When we say manifestation, we mean anything I want to create, anything I desire to make manifest. We're always manifesting, of course, but without I love myself, we're manifesting a lot of unworthiness beliefs and insecurities and whatnot. We're manifesting a lot of shadows. So we want to manifest consciously the light. So manifestation with a capital M, conscious manifestation, requires self-love. Why? Well, the more you love yourself, the faster and more powerfully your manifestations appear. Why? Because you feel worthy of them. In all law of attraction teachings, right, this is one of the big principles that is hammered. You got to feel worthy of what you desire. Stop being a pauper roaming around for scraps in the city alleyways, right? Be the king, be the queen who sits upon the throne and knows fully and completely that I am entitled to anything my heart desires. And in fact, it is good to desire and to manifest desire, because all desire is for God and all desire is of God. There's only one desire, yeah? Who am I? I will to know myself. That's the only real desire. So everything you do to create your reality is just you trying to know yourself in a different way. So that is very holy and very sacred. But again, as we said last week, if you're doing it from the mindset of, I want to experience God through this marriage, through having children, through buying this thing, through going to that vacation, through joining that group, through attending this retreat, let me never be fixated on an outcome in the external and thinking that that outcome in the external has the power to give me happiness. It doesn't. All things come from within myself because I am all things. So the external objects and outcomes can serve as symbols of what we truly desire, and they are symbols of what we desire. But let those symbols point us inwards and realize it's part of myself I'm trying to experience through this thing. So this is the only reason that anyone is unhappy in life, right? Because they don't love themselves. Like, if you knew that you are infinite power, intelligence, and beauty, you are the universe itself, right? If you knew that, with no doubt, then you would be radiant with self-love. You would absolutely adore yourself. You would adore your perfect, beloved self above all things. And everything you did would be only to experience more of that beautiful, perfect self that you are. So all desire is to know ourself, to know happiness of the self, from the self, by the self. Self-sufficient happiness is what we all want. And without love, there's no happiness. How can you be happy if you have no love? Happiness is like a quality of love. So there is no happiness where there isn't love in that sense. So self-love is like everything, is a practice, right? You got to practice this. Otherwise, it's never going to manifest inside of you because you're always practicing something. You're always creating something. And so if you're just going through your day, not really being mindful, not checking in, then ego's going to do a lot of false manifestations and creation through you because it's at the driver's seat. Right? You're giving the ego all your free time to do what it wants. You're not being mindful. You're not being aware. You're not, as Paul said, taking every thought captive. Do I want to invest energy into that thought? No, then I deny it. I'm the creator. And isn't that self-loving to do that? Isn't it loving to want to heal your mind and correct your thoughts and be free and peaceful and happy inside? So again, self-love is the only reason anyone isn't happy in the world. So if you knew that you are infinitely lovable, you could quite literally fall in love with yourself the way that you would fall in love with another person. And this is a really good thought experiment for everyone to spend some time with. Think about this. If another person can see you in a certain way that causes them to fall in love with you, and we're talking about specialness here, like the special romantic relationship, your high school sweetheart or whatever. If another person could love you like that, could see your unique beauty and your unique expression to the extent that they fell madly in love with you, then if they can see that in you, why can't you see that in you? Right? Many people have seen that in you throughout your life. Most of us have we've been in love many times in the ego specialness sense and had that romantic heart captured feeling by somebody. Well, if you can see them that lovable, if you can, if they could capture all your free thoughts throughout the day, when you're truly like head over heels, madly in love with someone, they're all you think about. And when you're not with them, then all you want to do is get back with them again. And you think about them all the time and you fantasize about them all the time. If you could love someone else like that, why can't you love yourself like that? Think about how much joy you would live with every moment if you loved yourself to that extent. You'd be just as happy and joyful as when you're in the rush of that specialness of romantic love with someone. If you can think back to all your memories of that feeling and capture it and say, I love myself like that, that's a powerful level of self-love. And guess what? You can see it, right? If others can see it, you can see. If others can see you that lovable, you can see yourself that lovable. You can fall in love with yourself like that. But the difficulty is that we're so close to ourself, right? You've always been yourself in this life. So there's like no room to really see ourselves. So we have to take a few steps back, right? We have to look at ourselves from a higher perspective. Look at our life from a higher perspective. Stop identifying with the character. Because if we're fully identified with the character, we can't take a step back and observe the character from a higher perspective. We can't consider our own life and soul journey the way we consider other people's. We will only be locked into the view of personhood. So if we can take a few steps back, and as we talk about here, try to see ourselves the way that God sees us, the way that the divine intelligence sees us, then we will find an immense amount of lovability in this person character that we're playing in this life. We'll realize very quickly we are all that divine intelligence, a unique expression of it. We are all the one creator in a different manifestation of its thought and mind. And that's a very lovable perspective to have about yourself. That really is where self-love will be found, is when you can see you the way that God sees you. This is why artists love to paint or musicians love to write music, because when you truly create something from your being, it just comes out of your heart. You channel that painting, you channel that music, it flows right out of you onto the paper or the musical scales. You love that creation, don't you? You want to show everybody. You want to play the song for everyone. You want to show everyone your artwork. And this is why artists love to share their art, because it's like, this is me. And it feels so good to love that part of you and share it with everyone. Oh, now we're tapping into it. So what if you loved your divine self like that? The way that an artist loves their best, newest painting. The way that a musician loves their new hit song, right? Can you love yourself, the I am presence within you like that? Well, you'd be giving that thing away constantly, wouldn't you? If you loved yourself like that, you would just want to radiate that love on everybody. So you are the center of everything. And this is where the feminine principle of self-love helps us to effortlessly unlock every masculine principle and abide by them all effortlessly, right? This is the way that the feminine power of love causes us to have perfect obedience to the light, is that you are the center of everything, right? In your experience. all your experience revolves around you, right? So that's what I mean when I say you're the center of it. Well, how can you love everything? How can you love every moment if you don't love yourself first? Because you're really the creator of the moment. You are the center of that experience, right? And because that experience is revolving around you, it's really just a reflection of you. So you can't love what happens, you can't love what arises or do any of that if the center is unloved. You'll also naturally not love whatever happens and whatever arises, right? So as Jesus said, if you clean the inside of the cup first, the outside of the cup will also be cleaned. Very interesting parable, right? The listeners were like, what? How would the outside of a cup get cleaned just because the inside of a cup? That's not what happens in real life. Jesus was drawing a spiritual parallel with that physical example, that the cup is you, your being. And we say that duality is the belief that there is an inside world and then also an outside world. And they're two distinct, separate worlds, right? The inside world interacts with the outside world and blah, blah, blah. And that's not the case. There's only one world, one reality, and it appears to be two because there's the subject and the object, but it's really one happening, one indivisible reality. And so if you clean the inside of the cup, your self-perception, then the outside world will also appear clean to you. Does that make sense? Are you guys tracking with that? So here's how we clean the inside of the cup. If we don't love ourselves yet, if we have trouble saying I love myself or feeling love for ourselves, if you can't see or feel real, genuine self-love yet, then all you have to do is start with self-compassion. Consider all the pain and the suffering that you've been through in your life, all the challenges and trials that you've endured, and yet here you are on this call today, earnestly seeking to know the truth and to be happy. Like, hey, if that's not a lovable quality, I don't know what is. So literally anyone can start there by saying, man, I sure have been trying really hard to be happy throughout my life. You know, I've suffered a lot, and here I am waking up every day, striving to improve myself. Man, I love myself for that. Right? If nothing else, at least I'm tenacious and determined. And that's a very lovable quality, right? Nobody likes an athlete who gives up the second that they fail at something. You know, we all love watching the athletes that never stop. No matter how many times they fall, they get back up, right? We love that. So that's a lovable quality. You fall and fall and fall, but you keep getting up. I love that about you. I love that about myself, yeah? And so not a single person listening to me right now can say, Aaron, what you're saying sounds great and all, but I just don't love myself, man. I just don't feel this love you're talking about. Oh, really? Then why do you want to be happy so bad? You want to be happy because you love yourself. Obvious. You don't want, like, people that the ego hates, it actively doesn't want them to be happy, right? In fact, it thinks it's going to feel good the more unhappy its enemies become. So if you want with all your heart to be happy, you must love yourself a whole lot, but you just kind of forgot how much you love yourself. You forgot how lovable you are. So you just need to remember. You need to remind yourself through self-compassion. The only reason that you fight nonstop for your happiness is because you do love yourself. So start with that, even if you have nothing else. Say, my desire to be happy is the self-love in me. So I love myself for that. Here we are placing our attention on self-love. Right? It's not that you have or don't have self-love. You have it to the extent you want to have it and focus on it, right? If you haven't spent time, like who here has spent a lot of their life doing this practice before their spiritual awakening? Zero of us? Like, this isn't something people do. People don't spend time sitting every day loving themselves. It's like the most counterintuitive thing for most people to do something like that. They would probably say, oh, that's very narcissistic. I don't want to do that. So why are any of us shocked that we have trouble connecting to self-love? It should be like, no duh, I've spent almost zero time practicing connecting with it. So it should feel clunky and awkward. That's perfect. But now I'm just going to start practicing it because I create my reality. I choose my state of being. I choose my quality of consciousness. I'm the creator. So the very fact that I want to be happy means I love myself. So let me just focus on how much I want to be happy and know that that's my seed of self-love, and then watch that seed start to grow. I dare you. I dare you to do this if you think you don't love yourself. Focus on how bad you want to love yourself. Focus on how bad you want to be happy in your life, and find how pure and innocent that desire is in your heart. Everyone should want to be happy. That's the best thing you could ever do for the world and for yourself. Your happiness is a gift you give to everybody. If everyone in the world was divinely, supremely happy and at peace, would we have war? Would we have genocide? Would we have any kind of abuse, any kind of corruption on this planet? Goose egg. So happiness is your gift to the world. Happiness is how you heal the world. So you should find it a very pure and righteous desire to want to be happy. That's your nature, because happiness is love. Therefore, love is my nature. So the more that I practice loving my I am presence, and this is the best use of your free time, guys. Like if you're walking throughout your day and you have some free time while you're, doing chores around the house, and you think, oh, what spiritual practice should I do right now while I'm doing housework or whatever? This one. Do this, right? Just practice loving your I am feeling. Practice loving that existence that shines within you, that can't be doubted. What we connected to in the meditation before this lesson. Practice connecting to that and then loving it. Be thankful for it. Give it praise as the God presence dwelling in you. It's that animating force that is alive in everything, and it's alive in you. Otherwise, how could you exist? Wow, what a divine thought. I love my I am presence. That's the best use of your free time by a mile, because you're going to activate the heck out of your I am feeling the more you're loving it. Love is the strongest way to keep attention on something, right? What you love is what you just fix your attention on effortlessly. So practice loving the I am within you. And in case there's any fear or trepidation from anyone listening, that practicing self-love is going to lead to some kind of narcissism or ego empowerment, I will assure you that the very opposite is the case. Love is like lead poisoning to the ego. Love knocks the ego out faster than anything. Real love, right? Narcissists are people that inwardly hate themselves. They're suppressing something very dark. And so they try to compensate for that self-hatred they're burying by trying to control everyone and everything in their life. Real self-love is the opposite of that. Real self-love is radiant like the sun. Imagine a star in space that was very, very dim, just barely a flicker that you could see it from a distance. And this star is looking around at all the other stars and just being like, why am I so dull? Why can't I shine like all the other stars? And the stars nearby listen to this poor little star's plight. And they say, my brother, you need to just shine brighter. Just let your light shine, radiate, stop withholding it. Shine it forth unhindered. The star's like, what? I'm withholding my light? And they're like, yeah, that feeling, that negative feeling, oh, why am I so dull, is the withholding of your light. You're the creator. Whatever you put your I am upon, I am dull, I am unworthy of love, I am not enough. You're empowering that into manifestation in your experience. So to shine your light is to just start placing your attention on your light, love, right? Peace, stillness, expansiveness. Put your attention on any divine quality that you like and love it, love it, love it, love it, love it in you. Love it that it is a part of you. Only what I have not given can ever be lacking. So if I don't feel love for myself, great, that's just a sign I haven't been given it. Doesn't mean anything negative about me. It's not an indictment on who I am. It's not even an indictment on my level of spiritual growth or something. I'm just a creator that constantly creates. What I don't create can't have life in my reality, and only what I do create has life. So if I haven't been creating this abiding self-love, then it shouldn't be there. That's perfect too. I'm still a creator, and I'm starting now. If you don't see love in yourself, you won't see it in anyone else either. Right? So you can't even be loving to anyone, to the world, until you're loving to yourself, of yourself. So if you really want to be of service, and if you really want to bless others, spend at least as much time or more practicing on loving yourself, right? Loving from your most gross, lowest expression, the physical body, all the way up to the highest, most subtlest expression, the spirit, the soul of what you are. Love everything in between that spectrum, your personality, your mind, your body, your unique expression. Love everything about yourself as a divine creation, because it is. And if you love it like that, you'll quickly see it like that. And it has that exponential effect. The more you see how divine you are, the more you love yourself. The more you love yourself, the easier it is to see your divinity. And they just continue increasing powerfully like that. They're synergistic, right? But if you don't see it in yourself, you won't see it in anyone else either. Other people won't appear like they're worthy of love because you don't even love yourself. So how can you give it to someone else yet? So I'm going to give you 3 practices. Let's do that. I'm going to give you 3 practical ways to practice self-love. Let's call it homework for the week. Practice number 1, repeat inwardly or outwardly if you want, as often as you can think of it, I love myself. And as you repeat it, say it with real confidence, right? I love myself. Even if you don't think you do, pretend you do and say it with confidence. And then watch and notice how your state of being expands in response to that. A real authentic, I love myself, is very expansive when you connect with it. So why don't you do that a lot? Affirm it, right? Affirm what you want to know of yourself. I will to know myself, and so I will to love myself. Because love is real knowledge, right? So repeat, I love myself, inwardly or outwardly, all throughout your day as much as you can think of it. Practice number 2. Begin to use your love for others as a mirror of how to love yourself. So whether it's your child, your spouse, your parents, your best friend, think of those people you absolutely love the most, right? How you want the best for them and you would do anything to help them and heal them. And then just like turning a spotlight, just turn it right around on yourself and go, and I love myself like that. I want the absolute best for myself. I would never will harm unto myself. I love myself. Practice using your feeling of love for others to know that that's actually your own self-love. Because again, if it's not in you, how can you give it? You can't. You can only give from what you are. You can only give from the inner supply of who you are. So if you absolutely love somebody, make no mistake, that is your self-love, but it's hiding in someone else. What did we say a few weeks ago? The positive qualities I have not mastered yet will be seen externally as desire. Right? We'll desire others, we'll love others, and not realize that that's our own self-love we're actually seeing and projecting out there. So know that you are the love you feel for others, because if it wasn't in you first, you couldn't feel it for others. Practice noticing that. And as you love others, also affirm, and that's how much I love me. And then thirdly, third practice, this is sort of the masculine aspect of this, of the erasing the ego's thoughts that you've been creating. Practice being very gentle and gracious towards yourself. Anytime you slip up, make a mistake, forget the truth or something like that, practice being really forgiving and benevolent towards yourself. Pay attention to any negative self-talk, any kind of self-devaluation, and renounce it immediately through forgiving it. Right? Just say, no, that is not how I feel about myself. Even if, you drop a vase on the floor and it shatters everywhere, and you notice out of your mouth flies, "Oh, you idiot." Immediately denounce it. Like, it's very powerful to even do it out loud. Selena and I do this all the time, actually. If any little bit of ego squeaks out, we acknowledge it and we take it back. "Oh no, I'm not an idiot. I forgive myself for saying that. I love myself." It may sound crazy to somebody else for you to talk to yourself like that. And you don't have to say it out loud, of course. You can say it inwardly. But something about saying it out loud is also very activating. Just correct yourself lovingly whenever you notice unloving thoughts, but with a very strict firmness, right? In the same way that if your child came up to you and said, "Mommy, Daddy, I hate myself," you would very quickly correct them. No, you do not hate yourself. You are beautiful. You are lovable. You must love yourself. The same way you would correct a child for unloving thoughts about themselves. Correct yourself like a child, really, in a very gracious, gentle way. Give no room to the ego to get by, to slip past without being noticed. Now that I've spoken this to you, I've sown the seed in you of these 3 practices, you're actually just going to start noticing these things this week. You're just going to kind of notice when you're beating yourself up a little bit, being really hard on yourself, even like a feeling of dejection. If you really were looking forward to a friend coming over or something, and they bail on you last minute, and then you feel this kind of feeling of dejection. "Oh man, I really, really wanted that." See that as a kind of attack on yourself. No, I'm not going to deject myself just because my friend isn't coming over. I love myself way too much for that. I'm going to have a beautiful night with my perfect, beloved self. How can you ever not be happy if you love yourself like that? So there's never a reason to let our frequency lower, right? There's never a reason to accept a negative thought about ourselves. There's never a reason to constrict our state of being. It's always an attack on ourselves. And we have to start seeing it like that from a very loving place. In the same way that if someone you love was attacking themselves, you would do whatever it took to protect them from themselves and help them to stop hurting themselves, yeah? That's such an obvious thing for love, but why aren't you doing that with yourself? It's just because you didn't know that you were actually attacking yourself. So when you see that as an attack, you forgive it right away and say, no, I love myself way too much to allow that feeling of dejection to run my mind. I forgive myself for feeling dejected. Dejection, you're forgiven. But go back to, I love myself. You'll start noticing these things happening automatically, just even in response to if you're resonating with this conversation. And from the look of it in the chat, seems like a lot of people are resonating with this. So again, affirm this in yourself all week. I love myself because I'm a perfect being. I'm a perfect manifestation. But I have to give that to myself before I can really experience it, right? I have to give myself the affirmation of my perfection before I can start seeing and experiencing and basking in my perfection and in my love. Let me first give it to myself consciously with intention. If anything, self-love, that would be it, wouldn't it?